They'll tell you that Marcellus Shale drilling can rescue Pennsylvania's lagging economy, create millions of jobs, bring fantastic wealth to you, the landowner or investor. It will unlock huge volumes of clean burning, they love that phrase, natural gas. They'll tell you that fracking is safe and that objections to fracking and Marcellus drilling are the fear-mongering of environmentalists. But used car salesmen have been known to mislead their customers, so let's look at these claims. In fact, many of the Marcellus drilling jobs so far have gone to Texans and other out-of-state folks, not to Pennsylvanians. Drilling jobs are short-lived anyway. And remember this study that people have cited tonight about 200,000 jobs potentially being created in Pennsylvania? Do you know who funded that study? That was funded by the natural gas industry. About wealth and health, you should all see the movie Gasland if you haven't seen it already. It's hard to feel wealthy if your land gets fouled. Some people have leased their land for drilling and seen their land values drop because of the water and air pollution that's created from fracking, not to mention sometimes seeing their family develop health problems like neuropathy or cancer. They've seen their pets and their farm animals become weak, and they've seen their hair fall out. You could call natural gas clean, I suppose, if you were willing to ignore the potentially horrendous pollution of water and air by benzene, barium, arsenic, and other toxic chemicals. You could call natural gas clean if you compared it only against coal, but that's a pathetically low standard. I don't think it's fear-mongering if rural landowners who have seen their well water go bad from fracking build a grassroots movement against profit-hungry gas companies, some of which are reckless in their practices, ready to drill, take their profits, and move on to the next state. Sorry, we can't trust these used car salesmen. What we need are much stronger regulations of the gas industry, probably a moratorium like the one in New York State.
Slave.
Of great concern to me are the chemicals used in the fracking process that are highly toxic and cancer-causing. Many are known and some proprietary. The greatest concern is the migration of these toxins into the aquifers and the poisoning of water. In the EPA's 2004 study, such fracking fluids migrated through the layers of rock unpredictably and traveled greater distances than thought previously in over half the studies in the United States. Such biocides and lubricants are causes of kidney, liver, heart, blood, and brain damage through prolonged or repeated exposure. As much as a third of these fracking fluids remain in the ground as likely to be transported by groundwater. If what is injected is alarming, more so is the fracking fluid that is retrieved and retained in open pits. These flowback fluids are known to contain dangerous amounts of salts, heavy metals, barium, and strontium. The pits leak and nearly never properly fenced to protect domestic animals and wildlife. Cattle and deer are attracted to these saline solutions, resulting recently in cattle being quarantined in Pennsylvania. Cattle can be quarantined, but Pennsylvania's deer population cannot. Thousands of white-tailed deer will be harvested this hunting season. As an additional food source, venison may well be called off the tables of Pennsylvania hunters for fear of contamination from these hazardous chemicals. How many hunters and their families will suffer the ill effects of these poisons? The EPA must use all this information to reach a conclusion that will assure Americans they will be protected from the hazards of hydraulic fracturing, and the gas company's exemption from the Safe Drinking Water Act must be corrected. It has been said that the supply of gas in the Marcellus layer is akin to the oil beneath Saudi Arabia. If we are not vigilant, however, we may well end up as dry as the Arabian Peninsula. We must act now.
A broad, comprehensive, scientifically rigorous study of fracturing's relationship to water is clearly needed given the changes that have occurred in the industry practices and scope in recent years, as well as the vast number of exemptions that the oil and gas industry enjoys, which I'm sure the EPA is all too aware of in 7 major federal environmental laws. EPA's mandate for this study from Congress is broad. We hope the agency will consider many aspects of the relationship between fracturing and drinking water, including the availability, usage, and effectiveness of non-toxic fracturing and drilling fluids, which is seldom applied, the full life cycle of chemicals utilized, airborne contamination from drinking water sources, sources of contamination such as spillage, leakage, and loss of containment of fluids, and a comprehensive analysis of the chemicals utilized. We recommend looking at communities right here in southwestern Pennsylvania, as well as the rest of the state and neighboring West Virginia and Ohio. Cases of contamination and health problems are already evidenced. In many places, they are part of watersheds for millions of people, as well as vital agricultural and forest land. We hope the EPA will take advantage of the vast amount of citizen-gathered information from people that are living with fracturing in their backyards. They document this information daily, and it must be part of the study. Industry often says that hydraulic fracturing is a decades-old technology, but its use in combination with horizontal drilling is a new approach which uses more water and chemicals, fractures deeper and further into geological formations, and leaves more in the ground than vertical fracturing. That aspect must also be studied. We'd be happy to provide you with more information on our website, and we will be submitting formal written comments. Thank you.
I would not want anybody to have to live the life I've lived in the last 5 years. I've lived in my house for 37 years. I live in Hickory, and that's my home. In 2005, they started drilling on my neighbor's property. Shortly afterwards, my water turned to a oily brown color. When we called the gas drilling company, their only response was, "Can you prove it?" Later, our neighbors also had gas wells drilled on them. I'm surrounded by about 7 gas wells. My closest one is 907 feet. In 2008, 5 of my goats died. Those are my kids. I had no idea of the extension of how bad our water was. When we called our state representative, his only response was, "Did you call the drilling company? I'd like to thank you for all of your help." After the DEP took a water sample of that brown, oily water, they called back and told us that the water was safe. Really? I only after a call from Washington, D.C., that I know the extent of my water, how bad that it really was. That was before I got my water sample. The manganese level was 145 times over the EPA allowable limit. The iron level was 243 times over the EPA allowable limit, with a lot of other chemicals that I don't have time to even talk about. We need to study the chemicals in the drilling process as well as the fracking process, and also what happens during the fracking process when millions of gallons are being pushed through this shale by millions of gallons of water with chemicals added to it. This is our lives. Thank you.